today we're going to talk about how to make your priest's homilies better. I've got 5 tips for you. The first one is this: read the scriptures ahead of time. Before you go to Mass, take some time, look at the week's readings, and really begin to open your heart to see what is going on there. Walk in having already read them, already thought about them, already have studied them, and I guarantee your priest's homily is going to be better. Number two is to pray. Before your priest gets up to give his message, just shoot up a little prayer and say, God, help me to have ears to hear and a heart ready to receive what you want to say to me through this priest's sermon. I'm telling you, that makes a big difference, because listening to a good homily isn't just about the words that are being spoken by the priest. It's about, actually in some cases, it's more about the disposition of our hearts and whether or not we are ready to listen. That's why Jesus said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear what I'm saying. This is a big deal. Okay, number 3, listen to the whole thing. All right, I know it's easy sometimes to nod off or to daydream or to become distracted, think about other things or whatever. Try not to do that during the homily. Your priest's homilies are going to be so much better if you actually listen to the whole thing, because let's face it, sometimes he might start off kind of slowly, but eventually he's going to get there. Or maybe he's got an illustration that doesn't quite make sense to you, but there's a point to it. And if you miss out on some of it, you might miss out on exactly what God's trying to say to you. So listen to the whole thing. Don't nod off, don't get distracted, and don't check out halfway through the sermon. The next one is this, and this is a very important one. Stop listening to sermons and thinking about, oh, this other person in my life, they need to be hearing this right about now. And boy, I sure wish my kids were here. And boy, I hope my husband's paying attention right now. Stop doing that. I remember when I was a pastor, I would preach these sermons and I could see people doing that. I could see them just jabbing their spouse with their elbow going, yep, are you listening to this? Now, it's true. Maybe your spouse or your kids need to hear that, but guess what? So do you. And if you spend most of the homily thinking about what other people should be getting out of it, then you're missing out what God has for you. And remember, you're there. They might not even be there. You're there. So God's got a message for you in that. So make sure you're listening and letting it interact with your heart instead of just thinking about what you wish other people were doing. All right, last one. Are you ready? Here it is. Encourage your priest when he does a good job. When your priest gives a homily that you think was just amazing, which, by the way, if you follow these tips, more of them are going to be amazing, make sure you encourage him. Because priests are human beings too. And like everybody, they need encouragement. They need to feel like the work they're putting in and the work they're doing is having a good result. And maybe your priest doesn't always do an awesome job. Well, when he does, make sure you give him a compliment. Now, here's what I don't want you to say. Here's what I want you to say. Oh, Pastor, that was a nice homily. Father so-and-so, that was a great message. Don't just say that. Who knows what that means? It used to drive me crazy when I would give a sermon that I thought was just preach my guts out, in your face, hardcore truth. And some person would come up to me afterwards and just kind of matter-of-factly say, well, that was a nice message. I wasn't going for nice message. I was going for hard-hitting, impactful, life-changing. And so in some ways, when someone would say to me, well, that was just a nice message, I would either say, oh, well, you weren't listening, or I took it as a complete failure. The kind of compliments that I appreciated were when someone told me a specific way that my message made them think or helped them or convicted them. So when your priest gives an incredible homily, go up to him afterwards and say, Father, I just want you to know that message really made me feel like I need to change some areas of my life, specifically this or that. Or you could say, oh, when you connected the scripture with that illustration, that really spoke to me in a new way. Or I've never heard it quite put like that, Father. Thank you for taking the time to say those words. They really meant a lot to me. Here's what that's going to do. That's going to encourage your priest to do more of whatever you just said. So if you just say, oh, that was a nice message, then guess what he's going to be thinking in his mind, maybe even subconsciously? Well, I guess I just need to preach more nice messages. But that's not really what we want, my friends. But if you say to him, wow, that homily really convicted me of some sin, or really makes me want to have a desire to grow in holiness when you did this or when you said that, then guess what? That's what he's going to remember, and that's what he's going to do. So notice this. None of my comments had anything to do with you sending a letter and saying, hey, Father, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. It had nothing to do with you getting a group of your friends together and saying, hey, let's go have a meeting with Father about what he can do to make his homilies better. None of these were things that were directed outside of yourself, other than the encouragement one. But that's really more about you than him anyway. But I'm telling you what, these things will make a huge difference as you go to Mass when you want to hear some incredible homilies.